Today we look at 20 men you won't believe actually exist. Number 21 will blow your mind.
Number 20.
The nickname Happy isn't hard to understand once you get a look at Carlos Happy Rodriguez. The man is essentially missing the top half of his head. Carlos was not born this way. Instead, the injury was sustained during a car accident. The young man hit a pole and was thrown through the front windshield and landed on his head at only 14 years of age. He attributes the accident to his use of drugs at the time, and now he uses his obvious deformity as a means to try to help others avoid drugs in their own lives, at least while driving. Seriously, next time you think about drinking and driving, just remember this dude's head.
Number 19.
To be the shortest man is quite an accomplishment, and Junray Balawing has recently taken that title after the death of Chandra Bahadur Dangi, who, until his passing, held the title. Living in the Philippines, Junray is 23.6 inches and weighs only 11 pounds. This means that he is 7 centimeters shorter than the next living short man. Fascinatingly, Junray grew until the age of 1, at which point he essentially stopped all growth. Born in 1993, Junray is now 22 years old. All in all, Junray lives quite a normal life. He had a beer on his 18th birthday before the Guinness World Records ceremony, announcing him as the shortest man. And of course, he can't wait to fall in love and get married.
Number 18.
At 24 years old, Nick Stolborough holds the Guinness record for the longest tongue in the world. Calm down, ladies. From the edge of his mouth, the tongue measures 3.97 inches to the tip. Adrienne Lewis reportedly has a longer tongue at 4 inches, but she has not been officially judged. Stolborough is the right guy for a long tongue, showing it off almost as much as Miley Cyrus shows off hers.
Number 17.
Merhan Karimi Nasseri is famous for reasons other than physical attributes. In fact, the reason he's so unbelievable is actually quite sad. Nasseri, who hails from Iran, lived for almost 18 years in France's Charles de Gaulle Airport.
My flight's been delayed 1 hour!
In fact, the only reason he left the terminal after this time was that he required hospitalization. This strange existence stems from a long story. Long story short, Nasseri was a refugee who had lost his papers. With no documentation, there was no chance of him entering France, but also no chance of him returning to Iran, from where he had been exiled. His life even inspired the Tom Hanks movie, The Terminal.
Number 16.
According to the Guinness World Records, Gary Turner has the stretchiest skin in the world. Of his stretchy skin, it is his stomach which can be stretched the farthest, to a total of 6¼ inches from his body. Gary's elastic skin is caused by a medical condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which also affects his internal organs and ligaments. He shares that the stretchy skin is in no way painful, but the condition does hurt his joints. However, the chances of ending up with such skin is rare, as Gary's condition only affects 1 in 100,000 people, and even then, it rarely leads to such a distension of the skin.
Number 15.
Tran Van Hey has been known as the man with the longest hair in the world. According to his wife, he had not cut his hair for over 50 years before he died. At the time of Tran Van Hay's death, his hair was over 22 feet 4 inches long and weighed over 23 pounds. Part of that weight may have come from dirt, since his hair was reportedly washed very infrequently. For example, it had been 11 years since he had washed his hair when he passed away at the age of 79. The man used to pile all the hair in his head when traveling or working, and I can only imagine that it must have given him a bit of a headache. As for the reason for Tran's long hair, his wife credits his fear of becoming sick after getting a haircut, which had happened several times previously.
Number 14.
While his stomach might not be as stretchy as Gary Turner's is, Francisco Domingo Joaquim has still got a pretty stretchy part of his body, his mouth. At 20 years old, Francisco is proud to be called the man with the widest mouth in the world. He used to show off his mouth's width with tricks on the streets of Luanda, the capital of his home, Angola, and later became world famous through videos posted on YouTube. His mouth measures in at 6.7 inches wide, and he has even fit an entire can of soda sideways into his mouth.
Number 13.
There are a few lengths that men care about on their bodies, but Ram Singh Chauhan takes the cake for the longest moustache in the world. In fact, he has himself described the growing of his mustache as a man thing. His stash measures in at 14 feet, and the black facial hair has not been cut in over 30 years. Ram Singh shares that growing long mustaches is a custom in his family and clan, with both his son and father also growing long mustaches. However, they don't all take it to the same extreme he has. And ladies, you know what they say about a man with a long mustache? That is nasty, cut it.
Number 12.
Brian Shaw is often cited as the strongest man in the world. It doesn't seem overly surprising that he has come in the top 5 in strongman competitions every year since 2011. Not only that, he's also come in first place in 2011, 2013, and 2015. Born in Colorado, USA, Brian now stands at 6'8" and weighs 425 pounds. As big as he is, he talks about the challenges of flying, including a 12-hour plane ride to Japan.
Oh, hell no! I mean, yeah, sure. Sit down.
He has grown to a point where he can squat 800 pounds, bench press 525 pounds, and deadlift 880 pounds without the aid of straps.
Number 11.
The story of Sanju Baga is not for the faint of heart. As a young man, it was discovered that Sanju actually had a twin inside him. Sanju recalls that he was always self-conscious of his larger-than-normal belly, but it was not until it became a medical issue that it was discovered that he had his own twin living inside him when he was already 36 years old. Of course, surgery was performed and the twin removed. The incredibly rare condition is called fetus in fetu and occurs when one fetus actually grows inside another. In the 90 known cases, the situation is usually that both twins will die from the strain of the experience, but in this case, Sanju lived.
Number 10.
Turkish man Mehmet Ozurek has one that seems to be bigger than any other living person's. His nose, that is. In 2010, the Guinness World Records measured his nose, and it came in at a whopping 3.46 inches long when measured from the tip to the bridge.
Number 9.
He's been dubbed the Tree Man, and the nickname isn't far from the truth since Dede Kaswara's condition is caused by a fungus. Dede has a rare disorder that makes him very susceptible to the human papillomaviruses, HPVs, that can be found on the skin. Imagine a cold sore but all over your body, because that's essentially what Dede is living with. While Dede has had surgery for his tree-like condition, the warts and horns return, meaning that surgery would be necessary more than once per year in order to actually keep them at bay.
Number 8.
Hailing from Zagreb in Croatia, Goran Čolak holds, somewhat literally, the record on holding his breath for the longest time. A free diver by trade, Čolak has held his breath for 23 minutes and 1 second.
Never mind.
He has breathed pure oxygen before breaking the record and therefore holds the technical title of static apnea on pure oxygen world record.
Number 7.
Larry and Danny Gomez are well recognized by their faces. That's because they have incredibly hairy faces. So hairy that the Guinness World Records have declared them, along with the rest of their 19-person family, to be the hairiest family in the world. The Gomezes have been studied for the condition, which has affected all 5 generations of the family. Called congenital generalized hypertrichosis, it is the men who are hit the hardest, with 98% of their bodies covered in thick, usually black hair. However, while their faces have more hair, their body hair is still not as extensive as Yu Zhenwan's. Larry, who has a party equipment business, and Danny, who works in the Mexican circus, have hair on all parts of their bodies besides their hands and their feet. The women, on the other hand, get away with lighter and slightly sparser coating. Their cousin, Jesus Aceves, says he shaved his face twice but didn't like the look of it because his face was left with a bluish-purple appearance. And Danny doesn't think he'll shave. He says, "I know who I am inside. I am the same as everybody except what people see on my face." His ex-girlfriend Lucy said she found his hair to be quite sexy.
Number 6.
The tallest man on our planet, Sultan Kosin, is 8 feet 3 inches tall. A 32-year-old Turkish national, Sultan has lived a relatively normal life, recently marrying and even stopping his growth as a normal person does, only in the case of Sultan, his growth was stopped with the support of doctors. Still, his extreme height has led him to a life of celebrity, including appearances on many shows and his own Guinness World Record.
Number 5.
Master Now is short. Hey now. 16 inches short. Not only that, the elderly gentleman is also unable to move without the aid of his wheelchair. He holds the record, therefore, for the shortest man in the immovable category. Living in his home country of Nepal, Master Now says he enjoys food and going out, but that the latter can be difficult since crowds of people often form to meet him, take pictures, and ask questions about his short stature.
Number 4.
Hu Ki-yong has got a pretty unique hobby. He pushes a running drill against his body. A biochemical engineer who measured the pressure of Hu Ki-yong's hands against the drill as he did his thing has asserted that real force is being exerted against this guy's skull and stomach and arm and wherever else he feels like putting the drill. Numerous theories have emerged as to why he's able to do this without, well, seriously hurting or even killing himself. A theory given a lot of credit in China is the idea that he's using qi, energy. It might not be too far from the truth given that Qiong is a monk and they are known for their devotion to and skill with meditation.
Number 3.
If you've seen my first Men You Won't Believe Exist video, you may remember this guy. I couldn't find his name at the time, but a user commented who it was. Well, although that photo was photoshopped, he does exist and he's huge. Born in 1971 in Sweden and coming in at 6 feet tall, 264 pounds of almost pure muscle, Martin Shellstrom has a history of impressive top 5 and top 10 finishes. Regrettably, Shellstrom reportedly spent some time in jail after he was convicted in a huge doping scandal, and then he ran from the country before his sentencing. He's now back in the gym building up to his former size.
Number 2.
Wim Hof's Ice Bucket Challenge was a little more intense than everyone else's. In 2011, he sat in a container of ice up to his neck for 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 42 seconds, which is a world record. This and other unbelievable feats earned him the nickname the Iceman. In addition to sitting in a tub of ice, he's run a half marathon 13 miles above the Arctic Circle in Finland. The temperature was about -4 degrees Fahrenheit. And he did this barefoot in the snow wearing only shorts and a hat. If that wasn't crazy enough, he climbed to 21,982 feet on Mount Everest wearing only shorts and shoes. The way he achieves these feats is by controlling his breath and his mind. He feels most people can learn to do what he does, and he even has an academy where you can learn. He says cold exposure is like lifting weights in that you get stronger and stronger each time you do it. And now for the number 1 man you won't believe exists. But first, I want to give a shout out to those who answered my last video's question.
Here's a question for you. Which of these men would you most like to meet and why?
Number 1.
Nick Vujicic is a man with no arms and no legs. A married man, Nick thinks disability is largely an attitude and works to confront stereotypes through his TLC show Life Without Limbs, a play on the phrase life without limits. Born and raised in Australia, Nick shares that no medical reason has ever been given for his being born limbless. He does have a small foot which he uses to write, type, paint, and play a drum machine. Nick now dedicates much of his time to inspiring others and giving a sense of hope when there may seem like little can be found.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
He credits God and his family and friends for helping him have a positive attitude and embrace life.